24 ZR2. We've got a bunch of miles on this truck. Now, granted, this is my 5th 3.0 Duramax diesel. Is this one my favorite? I don't know, not totally sure, but there are a lot of pros and there's a couple cons with this truck, and we're gonna get into that with this full detail review of this 24 ZR2 3.0 Duramax diesel. The main feature of the ZR2, if we're gonna ignore the suspension and all of its off-road capabilities, we're just gonna go straight into its looks. But look at that front end. Now, I did get the optional black wheel package. It didn't cost any extra money, so yes, I added that, and I do prefer the black wheels. You can see the Goodyear Wrangler tires. Those are 275/70/18, which is actually a little bit larger than the Trail Boss, even though they are the same tire essentially. These tires, in my experience, actually seem to be quieter in the long run. So these tires are holding up very well. 275/70/18, super awesome. This front end, all black front end, much like the Trail Boss. However, we've got the cutouts right here, and rock chips are a huge feature of this. I mean, look at all the little paint dings on there. And I say feature jokingly just because it takes a lot of hits. While this front end is super aggressive, with the 3.0 Duramax diesel, there's actually no airflow to go through the charge air cooler radiator on there. And that's because this skid plate is right there. Now, they do have a giant opening in the grill, and airflow is designed to go in and down to hit that charge air cooler radiator. However, in my findings, I don't think that's enough. Now, you can see the awesome flow tie that comes with the ZR2. Definitely a nice little feature. The red accents inside complement the red exterior paint. The magic with the suspension is right here with the Multimatic DSSVs. I have no leaks, no issues with these. However, in my very first review video, I did note that the ride was extremely soft and plush. Now, that's kind of gone away, and we're going to get into that during our road driving. I just wanted to point that out, that these are still amazing. However, they lost a little bit of that plushness. I did add these new Boost Auto M2 power steps right here. These are super nice, light functionality, and those are on there. They're nice because they're easy to step onto. They help climbing into this truck a little bit better. They power fold up, and it still maintains awesome ground clearance, as you can see right there, which is what's needed in the ZR2. It does hang down a little bit right there, but it's actually not anything to worry about, in my opinion. Just depends on how much off-roading you're gonna do, but that is a nice feature right there. I did load this up with the MultiFlex tailgate. The MultiFlex tailgate is super rad. Now, it's got two buttons right here. The top one will actually drop this top part, and the bottom will drop the whole piece down. Now, you can hit the top one and it'll just power down. Then if you hit the top one, it will actually release that. Now, here's the issue. If you have a trailer hitch down there, you're actually going to hit that, and it's going to hit right here. So you have to be careful of that. From there, open up that step, and you've got easy access to climb in, and you're in. All right, to close it, super easy. It's one piece, two piece, right there, and we're closed. All right, with the tailgate lowered, you can actually just open this up as well, and you've got yourself an extended bed. At the same time, you can close that, you can close this, and if you hit the top one, that's gonna bring this down, and now you have a workspace to put your laptop. You can also fold this up for whatever reason. If you wanna have a spoiler in the back there for airflow, you got that. I wanna talk about the extra options that it also has when you open this up. We're gonna open that one up again, and when you fold this down, you can see these boxes right here. You can actually put lights in either all four of these or just two of them, and I do have a video showing that, and I'll link it down in the description. But these you could put speakers in. I believe it's a $1,000 option by Kicker, but there's a bunch available for this. There's also storage boxes you can put in there. Look for a video in the future on that. Let's close this up. Let's roll over to the rear seats and see how much room is back here. Now, what we've got is a 5'9", almost adult sitting back here. This front seat is moved about 75% back, and as you can see, the other seat over there is moved all the way back. So let's see how much leg room there is when the seat is moved all the way back. Again, that's the front seat. The rears are not movable. Now, you can see the clearance that he has there. And this is someone that rides in the back seat all of the time. So let's just go ahead and get his opinion on what he thinks of these rear seats.
Yeah, you know, these seats are super comfortable. You know, I could sit here all day. And of course we live out here in Utah, so it gets really cold. So the seat heaters back here for both of the back seats too are also extremely nice.
A lot of people don't know this, but the ZR2 actually gets its own color package. And now you get a gray interior right here with the yellow stitching and black. So your accents are very different from the others. And what I've noticed is the seats do actually seem a little bit more soft, but they're also a little bit more bolstered. And we're gonna see that when we go into the inside. But for the back seat, you can see it's like a durable, leathery plastic, like, I don't know what it is exactly, but it does have the same storage features that the other 1500 trucks do, with a fold down cup holder right there for the long drives. Nice soft seats back here, and that does roll into the front, which we should go check out. Now moving into the front, you can see the same color scheme going on over here. You've got the yellow stitching with the gray, got some more gray accents. Got this cool texture, it's like a hexagonal texture right there. Bose speaker package. This is essentially a high country with an off-road package loaded onto it. All right, so the seats, now granted that they're gray, I'm a GM tech and I get dirty, and you can see some of the dirt has rolled into the gray right here. Now I haven't done any heavy scrubbing or anything like that, but these do attract a little bit more dirt than the other colors. Definitely a comfortable seat. You can see it's got a larger bolster on the top and the bottom, which I prefer because it's more racy feel. Steering wheel is the same, much like the other 1500s. Now we'll get into the whole buttons in just a moment. A big problem with the GM seats is the seat edge actually starts to curl over and then it starts looking all grungy and gross here. Mine are still in good shape and you can see they're still holding up. And I do attribute that to having steps all the time, because being able to step on a step to get out and get in means that you're not sliding on that seat. So showing the wear, they actually don't have any wear to show. And that's huge because there's a lot of getting in and out, a lot of off-roading with this truck. There's a lot of everything. And those seats are holding up. Starting it is easy with just a push button. Let's straighten out the steering wheel so we could see a little bit better. Now you can see the big 13.4-inch screen right here that was added in 2022 and a half trucks. So this is a 24, so it has the new dash. You can see up here we have the Banks iDash, and this is optional. This is aftermarket that I added onto this truck, and it allows me to watch all of the parameters that I want to watch, like the def level. We've got different temperatures on there, so when I'm towing, I know what temperatures are going and how hard I can push it. And if you've seen my towing videos and my other videos, you know I push it pretty hard. And I do that because I know the limitations right here, and those are helpful for me. There are links in the description if you're interested in that. This is called the Stealth Pod. You can get it in a single or a dual setup like you have here. The single is actually really clean. But let's move on to what the truck comes equipped with. Now with the radio, there is an option to go into trailer mode. You just hit the trailer button, and you can, if you have a trailer that you use all the time, or even multiple, you can set it up inside here. I've always used the Gez trailer and haven't gone too much further than that, but there are so many features in here. One of which that I like is the checklist, where when you have a trailer hooked up, it'll let you know, hey, check out this stuff, and change checklist. You can set it up to your needs. There are a lot of cameras within this truck, and that is one thing that I love. As you can see, I missed all of my parking spaces right there. So you could do a top view of the front. You could do, these are the mirrors right there. Now you can see my wheel is turned, so let's straighten that out. All right, then if you go into the tailgate right there, you can see your tailgate. Now if I had a hitch hooked up, we can see as I'm lining it up. So if you look at the red lines right there, that actually tells you, yes, warning, red, you're close. Now if you drop the tailgate will actually not go past that red line. So if you're backing up and you want to get it to a wall, disclaimer though, anything can happen. There could be some misreadings here. But in general, if you hit the tailgate button, oh, we're in reverse, so we can't do it. But if you hit the tailgate button, that will fold down, and the edge of that tailgate will only be at the red portion of the line. Now we've got Google Maps built in, and then I love this, that it always asks me if I want to shop plans. No, I do not. So we have a full screen right here. Now the one thing that I don't like about this radio is, well, you can get a full screen right here, but if you're in Apple CarPlay and you go to use Waze, which is something that I normally use, it will only do that much plus the radio portion of it. So here is the Waze. As you can see, it only takes up that much space, where the Google took up the whole portion right there. Now, so here you can scroll, and it gives you a couple options that you can go through. Now, one of which is the radio, one is the clock, one is the trailer options. As you can see, the Waze is only that much, whereas the Google Maps, oh, gotta love it, gotta love it. We're just gonna dismiss everything. So you get the full screen right there, and now that's super cool because I like having full use of the screen. But at the same time, you can hit that button and you're just like a normal setup with Waze. All right, so there's a lot of built-in features within here, and I just want to point out that the connectivity of the phone, $199 is my phone. The connectivity of the phone is fantastic. It doesn't really drop out that much. It's extremely rare if it does drop out. I have a vehicle from another manufacturer and it drops out all the time. So actually, I'm real thankful that the GM system is a very well-performing setup. And you can see I still have my little screen protector right there because I need to add on one of those bigger screen protectors, but I prefer to leave that on because I don't really have that many fingerprints or anything. And now when I take that off, the screen itself is actually going to show a lot of fingerprints. So if you get a new truck and you're able to leave that on as long as you can, it's worked out good for me. And as you can see, I've got 16,000 miles and we're still functioning nice like that. Moving over here to the gauge cluster, you can see that I've got it set up with, there's a couple features that you can go into on this. And let me just scroll over. You can do display layout. I'm on progressive. You can switch it up to classic. That's usually what I run it on, is classic, because it just looks classic. It's super nice. But currently I'm running progressive just to change things up. Digital is another option on there. And that basically just kind of cleans it up, removes a bunch of stuff. And then clean, it should just mean blank, because really all you've got is that. But we're going to go ahead and go back to progressive. And we're going to get into the fuel mileage in just a moment, but let's move over. You can change your left side, right side, the lower gauges. I have it set up to all four. You can change it to just a minimum if you wanted, where you just have the fuel. And that's actually a really nice clean look, but I like to see the extra options on there. So I keep it on maximum. Going through, you could do the speed sign display. Now I want to note on here, it says on plan needed. So what that's going to do is it's going to show the speed limit sign up at the top up there, which we don't have it because we're in a parking lot right now, but we'll see that when we do the driving portion of this video. If you're getting a dashed line on there, you need to go into your Google setup in here and you need to link your Google account and have it updated to your maps. So you're going to want to load your offline maps to your area, and then it will be able to do that. So no subscription needed. It's just a bunch of extra steps. So now you can see my best is 31.1 on the 50 mile and 24.6. We're actually approaching that real close right now, and that's cool. On the left side, you can see we have different modes. Now, if you turn this one clockwise, you see that it just switched it to sport. Now, sport will change the transmission shift points, and it makes it feel just a little bit better. Some people do say that they get better fuel mileage. I was testing it for a little bit and I was kind of seeing the same results, but it actually leveled off and I don't see any difference. Now, if you go one more, that's going to click you to off-road mode. That's going to change your throttle pedal sensitivity as well as the shift points and make it so that way you're not burning the tires up when you're trying to climb hills and whatnot. One more over goes to terrain, and that goes into a super off-road mode, which the ZR2 has electronic lockers for the front and rear diff, and you can see those right there. And that all works together. So you're going to be able to lock the front diffs completely, or the front diff and the rear diff electronically. That's different from any other truck. That's a ZR2 only feature. Now, if you go back over, we're going to click it to the left. We're going to click it to the left again, left again. I'm trying to get over. So now we're in normal mode, rotating that left. If you click it right there, the button, exhaust brake on, you are now in tow haul mode. And if you also notice, the transmission temperature has popped up right there. Now I do have the trans temp right there on the left side at all times, so I really don't need that, but that's a cool feature that one of the viewers actually told me about, and I thought it was super cool. So we're in tow haul mode, exhaust brake on. What is the exhaust brake? Well, that's the turbocharger doing what it can to limit airflow, so that way it slows you down going downhill. Now, it's such a small engine, small turbocharger, you're not going to feel it like a Jake brake, and that's a big complaint of a lot of people. So just know that it is still a small engine, small turbo, and the exhaust brake isn't going to bring you to a stop, but it will help you maintain speed for the most part when coming down brakes, and it's mainly just to save your brakes, so you're not roasting your brakes all the way downhill. Now let's go into the fuel mileage. All right, let's check out the fuel economy, because we know this 3.0 Duramax diesel is known for its fuel economy. And now granted, these wheels and tires that are on this truck are actually 12 pounds heavier than the other typical wheels and tires. So you are going to see a reduction in fuel mileage. But how bad is it? I'll show you on my Fuelie app, which I have right here. This works really well because it keeps track of all my fuel mileage and it's all hand calculated. Now you can see my best 24.6 for 450 miles. Now going to the 50 mile range, we got 31.1 as my best. But what it really comes down to is the real calculations by hand. And you can see I'm seeing a lot of 23, 24, 22.6. This was when I was towing. So we'll get into towing in its own little portion of this video. So let's not talk about those extremely low fuel mileage numbers. But you can see I'm sitting around, I mean, we've got 22s, 23s, and 21s in there. So I would say this is doing really well. This is in line with all of my other, well, it's in line with my 23 truck that had the max tow package, which gave me different gears. And it actually gave me better fuel mileage than what the ZR2 has. Now, I will say the ZR2 should have had the 373 max tow gearing. It would be definitely a better performer, but we're going to see that when we get on the road. All right, so let's go ahead and go for a little drive with the truck to kind of show the suspension overall, my opinion of that. It has changed since I initially bought the truck. Not terrible, but we've got some changes in it. We're just gonna go ahead and get out of here. Visibility, outward visibility is really good with this truck. The hood pop-up feature that comes on the Trail Boss and the ZR2, it does get in the way just slightly, whereas if you compare to a normal 1500 truck, it doesn't have that. You can see a little bit better down the hood. We're gonna go ahead and turn off the auto stop start right there because I do not like the auto stop start one bit. And no, I do not have a disabler installed on this truck, but I just hit the button for the time being. Now this is a somewhat bumpy road right here, and the suspension does absorb these pretty well. It's just the real small bumpies. But what I've noticed is this truck over time, the ones that are like right there, it starts to get a little aggressive on the suspension feel. It does start to feel like an off-roady truck where it's a little stiff. Now, granted, it is a truck and it's still just, it's going to have truck feels. But what I'm pointing out is when I first got the truck, it felt like everything small was just, we were floating over it. But as time went on, I can feel more and more of each bump. Now, when you go into somewhere that has like a big dip or something like that, that is where this truck really shines. That suspension really comes in very nice. It absorbs it extremely well. When you go off-roading and you're just flying down dirt roads, it absorbs everything super well. That's obviously what this truck is for. It's an off-road truck, so the suspension works good. Daily driving, it's still awesome daily driver. Suspension works nice, it's nice and plush. Nobody ever that rides in here complains, so that's always a good thing because you know how people are, they'll complain about anything. We are still in tow haul mode. Let's flip that over to sport. There we go. So in sport mode, we're gonna just get some accelerations on this. We're not gonna break any laws or anything like that. But now that I came from a 23 max tow truck to this ZR2 with the 323 gears, so the gear ratios are different because the max tow allows you for better acceleration with the 373 gears. The ZR2 goes down to the 323 gears, which means slower acceleration. Now with the turbo Duramax diesel, it's actually helpful that you have a ton of torque because that lower gear ratio, it'll pull through it because that's what torque does. And so just regular driving, it gets up to speed very easily. No fuss, no muss. It's just very nice. And I know that's one thing that a lot of people want is just the acceleration to get on and on, or on freeways, on ramps, whatever it is. If you just need to get up to speed like we did here where we blasted 5 above the speed limit. I didn't realize that. We're gonna slow down. But that's another thing that happens is it's so smooth and so quiet. I mean, all you hear in this is the AC. The diesel engine, the modern diesel engines are so incredible as far as noise goes. The LC0 has a nice sound to it. It's very low diesel sound. But back to the power, when you need it and you need to get up and go, it's definitely there. It gets up and goes. Now, if you compare it to a 6.2 liter gas engine, it's going to accelerate pretty close to the 6.2 for a little bit, but the 6.2 is going to take off from it as the 6.2 has more power. All right, so with the 3.0 Duramax diesel, it's rated for 305 horsepower, 495 foot-pounds of torque. Now, the torque is critical because when you're wanting to get onto an on-ramp like this is Mountain View, and this is Death Highway right here, so you need to get up to speed. So this is just roughly half throttle. It has the power to get it up to speed, and then with those bigger tires that come on the ZR2 in comparison to the other trucks, they're added weight. All right, so just driving at steady speed. The truck is super smooth. It keeps its lane pretty good. I'm going to turn on the lane departure right there, and we're going to let Jesus take the wheel, and it'll basically keep you straight, but you can see how it kind of bounces us back and forth. Now we just touched the left line, and now we're about to touch the right line, and now we're going to bounce over, and now it got out of control. So this is a useless feature. I think it's complete garbage. So I turn that off and leave it off. So another thing that people often ask about is if you're just cruising along like this, I mean, we're going 40 miles an hour right now, and you need to accelerate to pass, how is it gets up and goes? Right away, it gets up to speed, so we need to make the pass safely. You can do that with this. Now on the LM2, I did notice that there was a bit of a lag there. The LZ0 actually resolves that for the most part. And this is completely stock too. So adding on aftermarket parts will help that mid-range power, but this truck is stock. So it does that without any issues. So full acceleration, that's foot to the floor. Immediate pull. Speed limit is 55, so we got up to 55. We were climbing up a hill. So there you go. The power is there. I mean, it definitely is there. In comparison to a 6.2, I think this will keep up with a 6.2 off the line, but the 6.2 will end up taking it towards the end of that, unfortunately, because they just have more power, and the V8 it just works a little bit better in terms of power. But for fuel mileage and the amount of power that this has, this is, in my opinion, the best package. Now, granted, with the DEF concerns that I complain about, because I hate the DEF fluid issues that this truck has, the programming is terrible. Even with that, I still think this is the best engine to get. Now, if you're only towing every once in a while, that's totally fine. But if you're towing a lot and you're going to get one of these newer trucks, I want you to definitely consider the 6.2, just because of the amount of DEF fluid that these go through and all the drama that pops up on the dash when you're driving. To me, it's not worth it. So if I was towing a lot, this probably wouldn't be the route that I go. I'd probably go with the max tow truck at a minimum with the 3.0 Duramax diesel and see how that goes. But even that, it's still going to use a bunch of DEF fluid, and that's a pain when it limits you on the dash. All right, so what issues have we had with this truck? Now, if you've seen my initial video, you do know that I had some transportation damage. This guy was hanging off. There's some scratches inside there. The steering wheel was a little bit crooked. And no, I didn't get any of that fixed. So I've just been dealing with that. I mean, it is what it is. I don't feel like dealing with that. The biggest issue, though, is right away I had an engine oil leak coming from the oil pan area. And if you followed along, you know that I kept updating. But look at that. That looks pretty dry, doesn't it? We're at 16,000 miles. I have not done anything to this truck. I kid you not. Just change the oil regularly. And once we hit about 10,000 miles, that oil leak became non-existent. I mean, if it is there, I can't tell from right here because I'm a little too far away from it. But honestly, it no longer drips, which it was dripping before. And I'm not sure if it was an oil change or what it was, but something changed. And the oil leak stopped for now, and it's been gone for about 6,000 miles. And I'm thankful for that because I don't want to have this engine torn apart if I don't have to. So I just thought you guys would find that a little funny. My other concern is one that many people have, and it's a lot of clunks and bunks from the rear suspension. And I did do a video showing how to torque down those rear leaf spring U-bolts. And now that only fixed it a little bit. It's definitely not completely resolved. But one issue I want to point out to you guys is when you're filling up with diesel fuel, as you can see, I added caps here so we don't have any mistakes. But when you're filling up with diesel fuel, do not top off, because if you look at this leaf spring right here, the diesel fuel actually drips down onto that and it eats away at that bushing, which will cause a clunking noise. And I believe I have a little bit of a noise coming from that right there. Not enough for me to go in because it is a truck and it is an off-road truck, very slight noise. So if you have a bunch of noise that's coming from back there, I would suggest you take a look at that. So all in all, the issues, and I say that lightly, with this truck are actually minimal to none. It has done probably 2 or 3 different reprogrammings to resolve some check engine light related. And this channel, obviously I've had 5, and this is fantastic. It's been super reliable. You've seen that I'll complain about the DEF fluid on it because I don't agree with the programming of it, but that's totally fine. I'm fine with it using DEF fluid and chugging it. It will just drink it, and I'm okay with that. It's the DEF warnings that I have an issue with. Dealership visits, I mean, this truck, it's been pretty stout. So if you're considering a 3.0 Duramax diesel, I would suggest it to most people. I do ask people how they're going to drive it and what they're going to use it for, and let them know of some issues that they may encounter, or some headaches that they may encounter, or just overall inconveniences. But issues wise, it's good.